Okay, video number 2. We're going to, in this video, take our 3+2 program and change it to center of rotation. So, first thing I'll do is I'm going to save this file as a new name. So, file, save as, and I'll call it Laney Turner Cube COR center of rotation. Alright, next thing I'm going to do, so the thing with center of rotation programming is that it's nice because we only need one work offset. The sort of trade-off to that is you have to have an accurate position for your part with regard to the center of rotation of the machine. So the most common way that that's done is by building an assembly of the 3D models that constitute your fixturing. So that's what we're going to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my levels. So the levels are going to help us when we start merging these parts in to make it easier. So I'm going to select these two solid bodies, and I'm going to go to the Home tab, and I'm going to come right over here in the Organize. I'm going to click on the little icon for Change Level. And I'm just going to give that a new number. I'm just going to give it a number of 600. Alright, and then I'll click on the 600 to make that active with the check mark. You can see that it's the active level. Then I'm going to do a right click, and I'm going to clear empty levels all. Okay, so now I'm going to start merging in my fixturing. I've got 3 pieces to bring in. The dovetail fixture, the base for the dovetail fixture, and then the actual TRT tail stock. I'm just going to basically go from the top down. So I'm going to go from the part down to the dovetail fixture, and then to the base, and then to the TRT. So File, Merge, Cube Dovetail Stock. Okay, so it's not quite in the orientation I want. So I'm going to go with Align. This face, this face. Right. And then I want to rotate it 90 degrees like that. That's good. So green check there. Green check there, and then I'm just going to move it down into Z. So it's going to be click on the model, transform, translate, and I'm going to select move. It's going to be minus 1.775 in the Z direction, and green check. So if I go with a wireframe view, you can see parts inside the stock. Alright, so then again puts that on level 1. So I'm going to change that again. I'm going to select this model. I'm going to go to Home, change level. give that a 500. Alright, right click, clear colors. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring in the dovetail fixture. So File, Merge, and the dovetail fixture is going to be this DR52-DM25. Comes with a little riser, this blue riser, and then these are the 4 sort of pull studs that hold it down onto the base and lock it in. So it's actually in the proper orientation. We could rotate it 180 if we wanted to. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Align. I'm going to go with this surface. Green check. No, that's not what we wanted. Alright, so let's see. Let's go with green check and then undo to move that back. Alright, so now, we got a bunch of different little pieces instead of it being one model. So again, this is how the levels can help us out. So I'm going to go ahead and make level 1 active, and I'm going to go ahead and uncheck 500 and 600. So that just leaves me all these little parts here that go to this assembly. So I'm going to window around it. Then I'm going to go to the Home tab, change levels. I'm going to give this a 400. Click on the 400 level to make it active, and then right click, clear empty levels all. Keep our levels kind of cleaned up there. Alright, so now unhide the cube dovetail stock, and then now we can move the entire unit. So if I go to transform, translate, ask me to select the entities. Over here on my selection options over here, you come down here to the icon that looks like the levels icon. So select all entities by level, and then I'm going to choose 400. Green check. So that highlights everything that's on that 400 level. And now I can move it all together. Alright, so end selection. And then I'm going to choose move. And I'm going to go from to. So from to. And I'm going to choose the center of the top of this dowel pin. Actually, no. Escape. Instead of that, from to, I actually go with the center of this, if it'll give it to me. There we go. Center of that. Center of that. Green check. right click, clear colors. Alright, so that's lined up now. So next thing we got to bring in is the base. So that's the plate that this gets locked onto, that also bolts onto the TRT. So again, file, merge, and this is going to be the DRL52A for TRT 100. Okay, so there's that. Check. And okay, oh, that's all one entity. Oh, nice. Okay, so with that, I can go click on the model, transform, translate, move from to. Going to go from here to there. Nope, reselect. And I go from here to there. Green check. Now there's a little gap there, so let's see what that is. Analyze distance. To there. 20 thousandths. Alright, so I can click on this again. Transform, translate, move, Z positive 20 thousandths. Now they're mated. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to do is change the level of this, because when the TRT comes in, it's going to get muddied up. So home, levels, and I'll call it 300. So then file merge again, and TRT 100. Just comes in all sideways. So green check. So 17 levels for the TRT 100. So again, I'm going to go ahead and make level 17 the active level. I'm going to hide these other levels just like that. Then I'm going to window around the entire TRT. Go to the Home tab, levels, and 200. Okay, make 200 active. Right click, clear empty levels, all, keep it clean. Alright, so then bring the rest of that stuff back in. So I'm going to need to rotate the TRT. So we got to remember in Mastercam, rotation happens in the XY plane. Okay, so if we were to rotate it right now, it would just spin around. That doesn't help it. We need to rotate about X right now. So, just gotta change my plane. So go to my planes tab. Same thing. Let's go with top. So this is what we want. We want the right plane. So now we can rotate it. So if I go transform, rotate. Again, I'm going to come over here to my levels. And I'm going to select level 200. Green check. End selection. Type it in over here, 90. I want to choose move. That's not the way I want it. I actually want it minus 90. Like that. So green check that. Now we just need to move it. So I'm going to go back to my A0, C0, right click top, clear colors. So again, transform, translate, level 200, green check, and selection. Start moving it down in Z like this, just to get a better view of it. Okay. I hit the blue check. One more time, select my level 200, and check. And I can go with a end selection, and I can go with a from to. So I'm moving the TRT, so I want to move it from here to here. Check. Right click, clear colors. Alright, so there we have the full assembly. Now obviously, if you have any SolidWorks skills at all, this would be a lot better to do in SolidWorks, but there are some times when you need to just do the stuff in Mastercam, so there you go. Okay, so before we get any further, we want to make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be. Notice that when we merge these two, the dovetail stock and the dovetail fixture doesn't look quite right. So if I check the position, I do a right click position, but you don't have that. So you go to the home tab and you come over here to dynamic, hit the drop down position. So I can come here and I can see that I'm off by about 43 thousandths in the Y direction, because I'm on the A0, C0 plane, So that means that the center of all these round pieces, the platter and the base, they should all be at 0, 0, x and y. So we need to move that stuff so that it's in the right position. So we'll do one more transform translate. So transform translate. Again, I'm going to select by the level. So I want 400, 300, and 200. Green check. End selection. Move in the Y direction, minus 0.0433. Enter. And green check. Right click, clear colors, and then again position. And now we're at 0, 0, 0, 0 for that. And it looks like I'm in a little better spot. Alright, so that's all lined up now. So everything there is on the center of rotation for the C axis. But what about the A axis? Where's the center of rotation for that? So we could assume that it's at the center of these round features, right? But it's best thing is check the documentation. So have that. Here. So this is the machine layout drawing for the TRT-100. Scroll down here and it shows us the center of rotation here. So it's going to be 7.5 inches from the bottom, from the table. Okay. So now we're going to need to move all of our planes to that center of rotation. So to go ahead and figure out how far I need to move my plane down in Z to get to the center of rotation, I can double check. So that looks like it's in the center. So if I do analyze distance, and if I take the center of this round feature to the bottom, some point down here on the bottom, so that tells me in the Z direction from there to there is 7.5. So the center of this is the center of rotation for the A axis. So now if I do an analyze position, again home tab, over to dynamic, the drop down position, get the center of that. So it's minus 3.9445. So that would be how far I need to move my plane down to get it to the center of rotation. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight that, do a Control C to copy it, hit the green check mark. Then I'm going to come down here in my planes, right? So A0, C0. These are my coordinates. So what I'll do is I will come down here to the Z origin. I'm going to click in that box. You can see the blinking cursor. And I'm going to do a Control V to paste that number that I just copied, and then I'm going to press the enter key. And there you go. You see the plane move. So remember, all these boxes can do math. So if I, one more time, if I do a analyze position, Z0, if I take a position on the bottom of the table, or sorry, bottom of the TRT, so minus 7.5. So plane's in the right spot now. And then I'm going to need to move all these other planes to that same spot. So best way to do that is go ahead and hide some of this stuff. So if I go back to my plane, so now if I click on the A90C0 plane, excuse me, then I can click on this mouse pointer. And see it snaps to that origin. Same thing for all the other ones. Alright. Okay, so now all of my planes are in the same spot. If I switch over to my toolpaths tab, you'll see, of course, all the toolpaths have gone dirty now. So I'm going to go ahead back to my levels. I'm just going to show all this stuff again. Alright, so now I can go ahead and regenerate my toolpaths. Now we're going to have some issues, right? Because now our origin is down here in the middle of all these fixture pieces, and so my Z values are all based on that. So anything that went to a negative Z is going to go to a negative Z from this point, so it's just going to blast right through all this stuff. So we have to go ahead and fix that. Levels. Go ahead and hide 500. So if I go to my first toolpath, the facing, if I click on parameters, I go to linking parameters. My depth is now 3.9445. Now I can do incremental. So if I switch these all to incremental, we check. So it just kind of depends what you so that doesn't quite work for this toolpath because we used the stock setup at the time. We didn't actually choose the geometry, so we need to go and fix that right now also. We can switch the stock over to the new model that we brought in. So if I go back to levels, show that again, and then if I go back to the toolpaths tab to my stock setup, so I can go ahead and click on that stock that I had set up there. right click. It doesn't want to let me delete it. So let's do this. Alright, so then makes our facing toolpath dirty because again we use stock setup, so we can just go ahead and fix that by clicking on geometry, doing a right click, add, and then we'll use a loop. Choose that. Green check, green check. So now my incremental 0 is going to go ahead and give me that facing path right on the top of the part like it should be. So then come back here to the next toolpath, go to my linking parameters, and change everything to incremental. Check. Okay. The last one is the chamfer. That should be incremental 0. Alright. So go ahead and hit save. Verify it. Okay. Alright, so now we need to go ahead and fix the other toolpath groups. So I'm going to go ahead and switch my plane just for a better visual. Okay. So here, first toolpath, contour, right? So again, incremental. Same thing for the second toolpath. This one. Okay. So now the rest of the faces will all be the same as this one because they the A axis is already rotated, everything's on center, so it'll all be the same. So we can actually change those globally. So if I click nine, 10, 12, 13, 15, and 16. Do a right click, edit selected operations, edit common parameters. I'm going to come over here to my depth. You're going to change to incremental. Alright, so let's go ahead and update these values. Okay, just like that. Green check. Regenerate all dirty ops. Double check. So now everything is incremental and updated. So now we just got to go back and do the chamfer. So 11, 14, and 17. Right click, edit selected operations, edit common parameters. Activate all these. Change to incremental. Okay, 0.25, 0.1, 0, and 0. And then, so there's all these things that you can change to multiple toolpaths at once if you want to. So green check and regenerate those and do a save. Let's go ahead and verify. Okay, that looks good. So we have a couple more things to do. So one thing is we need to go back to our planes and we're going to change these all to 0. We're only going to be using one work offset now. Okay, and then the other thing we need to do is to cause rotation in Mastercam. We need to have the WCS plane is our A0C0 plane, and then the construction and tool plane is our A90C0 or A90C90 and so on. And so that will cause the rotation in Mastercam. So when we do that is, so I'm going to highlight the toolpaths in Operation 2 and do a right click, edit selected operations, edit common parameters, and I'm going to go to the planes, and I'm not sure why that's coming up, but we're going to change it. Our WCS should be the A0C0, and then our tool plane should be the A90C0, and our construction plane should be the A90C0. Okay. Same thing, Op3, right click, edit selected operations, edit common parameters. Oh, I know why it's doing that. It's because that's our active plane. So A0C0 for the work coordinate system, and then A90C90 for the tool plane, and I'll hit these double arrows, which copies this one over to this one. So A0C0 for the WCS. Check, check, and generate. So yeah, so A90C270 is our WCS CMT right now. So whenever you do that, when you do that edit common parameters in 2023 at least, whenever you go to change the planes, it thinks you automatically want to do whichever plane is currently active. They actually changed that in 2024, and it doesn't do that anymore, but up to you which way you like better. So let's see, I'll just go ahead and hit the equal sign on A0C0, so at least that first plane will come up correctly. And then I'll highlight the toolpaths in Op4, right click, edit selected operations, edit common parameters, planes. So see, now it comes up A0C0. Then I just have to change this one to my A90C180, green check, and then copy that over. So the T and the C are the A90C180, green check, generate, and then last one, generate and save. Alright, so now that I got that done, let's go ahead and post out the code real quick so we can see. So turn cube, COR, didn't like that. Let's see. Go ahead and swap this out. That's better. Alright, I'll provide you guys with that machine definition and post so you can replace it like I just did. So you can see the rotations coming up here. So there's our A90. Should be C0, but Haas used to kind of do it wrong. And so if you have an older machine with a 5-axis unit, you get A and B instead of A and C. Okay, so there's, you can see the rotations though, so there's B minus 90, A 90. So the rotations come up in the code that way, and everything posts to G54, so 1 work offset. Alright, so the other thing we're going to want to do is for collision checking. We can go ahead and add these fixture pieces so that it'll show up in verify as work holding, and that's done over here. So we click on the files tab, we go to work holding, fixtures, add from selection, I'm going to go to my layer selection again, so 400, 300, 200, green check, and selection, and green check over here. And if I go ahead and verify again, let's see, it's not showing it. It's going to be over here in the visibility. Excuse me. Workpiece. Okay. So verify. So that looks good. The last thing you would do is you'd want to make sure that your stick out on your tools matches what you've actually set up. But we're pretty clear with this work holding setup that we've got with the riser and the dovetail fixture. Gives you lots of room. So okay, so there's that. Save it, and that's it. So that's how we set up for center of rotation programming. Once you have it set up, it's nice, as long as you don't go ahead and change your fixturing or anything like that, because if you do and your part moves, then that has to get updated here in the model, or somehow to capture that change. Otherwise you'll be not getting the result you wanted. Alright, so that's it for this video. See you on the next one.